Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to yet another Death Battle review. However, due to Death Battle hiding behind Daddy Rooster Teeth because they're afraid of Big Bad Kimimura coming to get them, I have decided to look at one of their older reviews in an attempt to avoid getting auto-blocked so I can actually upload reviews, which I know you guys love so much. So, in a hopeful attempt to be able to continue to kick Death Battle in the balls, let's hope this works, and let me take you back to the past to a older time, a simpler time, back when Death Battle was not as retarded as they once were. Well, maybe. Let's find out and see how well these fights have held up.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Fight! You're pissing me off. Die.
Oh man, here comes the rage from the God of War fanboys.
Kratos is a very difficult one to beat, but Spawn's magical prowess and near-indestructible body proved too much for him.
Yeah, normally that last attack would have meant the end for his opponent, but not Spawn.
And while much of Kratos' arsenal were forged by Olympians, Olympus is composed of earthly elements, and is not another plane of existence like heaven, so it stands to reason none of the Olympian weapons could kill Spawn.
Except the Blade of Olympus, but it wasn't enough.
Plus, Spawn and his suit had plenty of evil energy to feed on during the fight, since Kratos is literally covered in his past sins.
Well, that was one hell of a fight.
The winner is Spawn.
What the hell was that?
Well, shit. Alright, on second thought, fuck the nostalgia goggles, because I'm going in hard and fast on this one, and it's probably gonna hurt. But, yeah, needless to say, not much has changed with Death Battle. In fact, signs of what they would later become were always kind of there, such as antagonizing fan bases like we've seen them do many times before. Cough, Goku vs. Superman. But let's take a look at this fight anyway.
Listen, I just found out I'm retarded, and, I'm just calling to let you know, you might want to get yourself tested. Hello?
Alright, Spawn versus Kratos. This has been one that has been at the top of my list for quite some time, so let's finally talk about it. So, positives. It's short, and the editing is decent. That's about all I could say. It's the equivalent of getting a shot. It may not be too pretty, but at least it's over quickly, compared to some of Death Battle's other episodes, where the modern Death Battle, as I will call them, just constantly just pads out their episodes with all kinds of shitty jokes. At least they don't seem to do that, so the episode is over with a lot faster. However, even with such a short period of time, they manage to make mistakes that are just beyond inexcusable. Like, these are some amateur mistakes. And before anyone says anything about what I'm about to say, I do not want to hear the excuse that this was Death Battle when they were older. This was like their first season, so therefore it's okay for their episodes to be shit because they didn't have any budget or manpower that they have now. Because number one, we see that they were still getting sponsors back then, so clearly money wasn't a huge problem, and even back then they still got a butt ton of views, so that wouldn't really be all that much of an excuse. Plus, they likely would have been able to hire animators all the same, but I'm not going to take that as an excuse for one simple reason, and that is the AVGN. His videos were made way before Death Battle's videos, and with the shittiest equipment you can possibly imagine, and those videos have aged like fine wine, whereas this video has aged like a piece of fucking bread left out in very humid weather for a week. AKA, it just gets moldy really fucking quickly, to put it simply. But let's start with some of the more obvious criticisms, and starting out with what I always like to start out with, the matchup. And needless to say, who the fuck thought Spawn versus Kratos was a good idea? Seriously. I genuinely have to wonder who the fuck comes up with these matchups, because surely there were people out there asking for this, because I have a hard time believing that this was Wiz or Boomstick's idea, and if it was, well then what the fuck is the logic here? What is it, that they're both men that went on a vengeful rampage against gods? Is that really it? Because that's about all you got here. And even then, I still wouldn't say that's a very good reason for them to fight. I mean, of all the people you could have Kratos fight, why Spawn? Now, another thing that they royally fuck up here is the power scaling, and especially the results. Holy shit, do they fuck up the results, and I'll get to that real quickly. But in regards to the power scaling, it is really bad. They barely do any power scaling of any kind. Like, say what you want about modern Death Battle, at the very least, even when they're wrong, they'll at least make an attempt to do calculations. Now granted, more times than not they fuck it up, but at least they do it. However, it seems with these older episodes, they barely even bothered to power scale or even calculate certain feats. Similar to a certain somebody, they just announce the feats and powers, and that's about it. They don't really give us much indication as to how powerful these characters are, which is why the episode is so short, because there's not much meat, there's not much substance, they barely put any effort into it, and the whole point of these guys is they're supposed to do research and tell you how powerful these characters are, and then come to the conclusion of who wins, which they make barely any effort to do. And some of the information they give is just outright wrong, such as Kratos' Olympian weapons not being divine constructs. They say that Olympus is made up of earthly elements. However, they do not post any kind of scan or anything from the video games that even would suggest this. So it just leads to you believing that either A, Death Battle is lying, or they just hope that you're stupid enough to believe it. This is why you have to give scans, or else it's very easy to just debunk your bullshit. I mean, imagine if I made one of my debunking videos, and I just provided no scans or evidence at all. Like, imagine my Yang versus Tifa video, if I made no effort to post any evidence for any of the stuff I was saying. I just said that, well, Tifa wins because she's stronger. That would be a pretty dumb video, and I would rightfully be shit on. But Death Battle somehow got away with this. I don't know how. Maybe it's because people like me and Seth weren't around back then. I have no freaking clue. But either way, it's inexcusable that the power scaling is this fucking bad, and they get shit like this wrong. Another thing they really fuck up is They say that Spawn can only be killed through beheading and divine constructs, but that's bullshit, because Spawn has been killed before by things that were not divine constructs or getting beheaded. For example, Spawn has a weakness against lightning. Yes, lightning can actually kill Spawn, in the same way that it's commonly believed that Superman's only weakness is kryptonite, but that's not true. Superman can also be killed by magic, and nuclear energy can also weaken him. And the same is true for Spawn, because this was brought to my attention by a good friend in my research team that had pointed out to me that Spawn has had plenty of other weaknesses outside of just divine constructs. That is bullshit, and they just used it as a fucking cop-out. Now, we know Death Battle has done this before, blatantly misrepresenting information, or just giving flat-out incorrect, or even living out information, just so they can say that this character wins. So, once again, Death Battle has been like this from the very fucking beginning. But more so is the absolutely asinine results, in which they don't go over their feats, they don't explain who's stronger, they just say, well, Kratos was a tough opponent, but Spawn's body was very tough, and Kratos couldn't kill him, even though he has a weapon that actually can kill Spawn, but he can't win for reasons. They don't actually explain why. They don't say it's because Spawn is faster, has better skills, arsenal, nothing. They don't explain jack fucking shit. Like, they do the bare fucking... Even freaking Cartoon Fight Club will give more reason for why a character wins, and when you fail to even do what Cartoon Fight Club is capable of doing, you know you're in deep shit when you're doing less work than that fucking dipshit. So, not only is it bullshit that Kratos would lose, many people have gone over this and have been able to prove that under certain circumstances Kratos would win, as Spawn at his absolute strongest is only about planet surface level, or life wiping, as the tier scale labels it. And keep in mind, this is with amps. Spawn needs amps to be this powerful. Also, another thing they fuck up is Spawn's ever-growing power through feeding on evil energy. Yeah, that shit isn't limitless. It actually has a limit as to how much stronger Spawn can become simply by feeding off of evil energy. It's not like Scorpion or Hulk, where their power is ever-growing and limitless under certain circumstances. Spawn's ever-growing power is not limitless. It has a plateau as to how much stronger it can make him. And from what I was able to find out through the research that my friend did, that Spawn's ever-growing power seems to clock at its limit at city level, which Kratos is well above city level, as with the Pandora's Box amp, he is at least planet surface to possibly planet level. Though I have my own speculations that Kratos is only life wiping. I will get to that in a possible debunking video, and I won't get too deep into that here. What needs to be understood here, and what is most important, is that typical of Death Battle, they fuck up the results, they fuck over Kratos, they give really shitty reasons as to why Kratos lost, and they don't do any power scaling. So it's not like they can pull some horseshit miscalculation or to try to highball Spawn or lowball Kratos. They don't even make the effort to do that. They just say, fuck it, Kratos can't kill him because we say so. And that's just absolutely unexcusable. And it goes without saying, the animation is just cheap, okay? All they do is just take sprites, and they give us a fight that's barely over a minute long. Like, you can't even give us more than a minute of animation. Even fucking Fan War is capable of giving us better animations. The only thing I could say about this is it's at least slightly better than Cartoon Fight Club, because that's a guy that sucks so hard at what he does, he can't even be bothered to give us animations that have a fucking ending. But again, that's not saying much. When you're just barely above Cartoon Fight Club, you're in huge fucking trouble, Death Battle. And there's just not really much else to say. Why is it that Spawn has a voice and actually talks throughout the fight, but not Kratos? Like, okay, I get that they probably didn't have voice actors at their disposal back then, but were they so fucking lazy that they couldn't be bothered to just steal voice clips from the fucking God of War games? Like, that would have been the most bare minimum thing that you could have done. Back when I did Ukiura versus Kimimaro, my pilot episode that I admit wasn't really all that good, even though I didn't have any voice actors at my disposal, I at least went through the trouble to rip lines from the anime or video games that these characters were from, so at the very least there was a sense of dialogue or interaction.
Let's see. How shall I decide? Compose yourself.
Fight!
It's just awkward that Kratos says nothing throughout the entire fight, but Spawn keeps talking. What's even the point? If there's going to be no dialogue or interaction between the two characters outside of fighting, then what's even the fucking point? Why even have Spawn talk at all? It just comes off like you just were too lazy to get any voices from the video games. And I'm sure you probably could have found some voice actors that would have been willing to do some voice acting for you. I'm sure you could have found some cheap 50-cent hooker voice actors out there, or you could have at least done it yourself. Like, that would have been something. And the music, while on one hand, I want to praise it for actually just using music from the God of War games and the Spawn series, but I don't know if I can even give them that, because while in the past I have said that I would like it if Death Battle used music from the characters' universes more often, all they did was just rip some music from the video games, and then that was about it. Like, why not at least get some kind of remix or something, or make some kind of mashup like Death Battle does now? That would at least be something. I mean, I know back then they had no resources, in air quotes, but I still find it hard to believe that they couldn't do something more with the music than just ripping some music from God of War and saying, fuck it. Like, there's not much good here in this episode. And again, I do not buy the excuse that Death Battle is older, give them a break. No. Because the whole point of a YouTuber is to improve over time. And the thing is, not only has Death Battle not improved over time, in fact, in some cases one could argue they've gotten worse as time has gone along, but a good YouTuber can make good quality content that ages well. Going back to James Rolfe, you could go back and watch his older videos, and they hold up extremely well, and not only do you get a good retro nostalgic feel, but you still get good videos. I encourage you, go back and watch older AVGN episodes. They're still vastly entertaining and hold up quite well. So Death Battle should be fully capable of doing the same thing. Yet, these older episodes are just as terrible, if not worse, than their newer episodes. And their newer episodes, as I've proven on multiple occasions, are really, really fucking bad. They range from boring, forgettable filler to absolute abominations that spit in the face of fandoms. And always are in desperate need of debunkings by people like me, Sir Splash, Seth the Programmer, and Clyde. And make no mistake about it, odds are, depending on the reactions to this video and the pissed off reactions by the God of War fan base and the Spawn fans that are saying that, yeah, Spawn would not have defeated Kratos, odds are I'm probably going to have to follow this up with a debunking because Death Battle can't do anything right. The final rating for this is a 1 out of 10. Yes, it is as bad as Naruto vs. Ichigo, due to the fact that they do no power scaling of any kind, they barely go over their feats, there's zero calculations, the results are fucking god-awful. Jeez, the reasons they gave for why Naruto beat Ichigo made more fucking sense than this. At least they tried to use some degree of power scaling to explain why Naruto won, even though they just had this happen due to lowballing the utter living fuck out of Ichigo and making Naruto out to be much stronger than he actually is. However, even with that being said, this is inexcusable. The music is just ripped straight from the games with nothing clever being done, no mashup, no remix, no nothing. The animation is cheap and about on par with what you would see in Fan War, and that is some pretty bad, but even then, even Fan War has pulled out some better animations than that, and I've been pretty harsh on his animations, but there's been some that at least looked nice, or at least had more content, or more going on with it. Not only does the fight lack any meat to it, but the episode itself lacks meat. This whole episode is just like getting a fucking needle stuck in you. It's awful. Don't watch it. And odds are, if this does well, I'll likely have to torture myself by watching more older Death Battle episodes, because, fuck me, I am forever going to be enslaved to continue to review Death Battle and remind people why they are incompetent buffoons. But, in all seriousness, let me know what you guys think of this episode. Do you think that it's actually good and you want to see Death Battle get in touch with their more older selves? Or do you agree with me that this is a pile of shit and Death Battle may not have been all that great looking back at it in hindsight? Because looking back at them retroactively, they have not aged well at all, and they're only getting worse over time. But let me know what you think, and if you want a debunking of Kratos vs. Spawn, let me know and I'll make that happen, and I'll see you guys next time, and fingers crossed Rooster Teeth doesn't try to block this one, because if they do, I'm gonna fucking lose it.
Hey!
Here's the deal. You stay away from Tao, understand? You tell your friends to stay away from Tao. And if they don't listen to you, you tell them you don't want to see them anymore. That's it. Got it? I'll take that as a yes, because if I have to come back here, it's gonna get fucking ugly.